All right, tonight I'm just doing a demo on this cross-cut glue-ups for rolling pins. I watched a YouTube video, and that's how I figured out how to do all this. But first thing you need to do is figure out what size diameter rolling pin you want. I started making them 2 3/4. This is a little bit different shape than what I normally do, but this is the 2 3/4 diameter one with the ball ends on it. After I've made these, it's a little big, so I started stepping it down, and now I make them 2 1/2 inches like this one. So in my opinion, 2 1/2 inches, most of the women like this size, that they're a little bit smaller. So anyway, you cut your stock to 2 1/2 inches, or if you don't think you're going to get it glued up real well, you can go a little bit bigger so that you have room to cut it down to the 2 1/2 inches or turn it down to 2 1/2 inches. So I do mine at 2 1/2 inches. Make sure that I'm good and flat when I'm gluing it together. And then you glue up double the width of your board of stock. So I've got 5 inches or a little over 5 inches of glued up wood when I'm done. So I cut them to 2 1/2 inches. I cut them anywhere between 20 to 22 inches. I've been cutting mine at 20. And after you do that, I take it over, run it through my planer so that I've got a good surface on both sides for the glue up. And I use Jorgensen, kind of like a quick grip clamp, but they're the Jorgensen. They got I think it's like 440 pounds of strength or pressure on them when you use them. What I do is I'll put one with the bar side down here with your clamps facing up here. Do the same thing here, and then I alternate them. Put one here on the top, put one on the top here, and another one on the bottom here when I'm gluing up. Once I get those to my grip strength, then I take that same clamp and grab a hold of the handle, and I use my clamp to clamp the clamp even more to get more pressure on it. And I've never had a rolling pin that had any gaps per se that needed to be filled or anything like that. I've always had real good luck with those clamps. So once you get this block, that's all glued up, and I made this jig that had this piece here slides in my table saw, and then the block would sit right in here. Now, mind you, these are 2 1/2. When I did these, I made this jig for a 2 3/4. That's why this is just slightly bigger than what this is because this, so I end up sliding this out to here, and I put a 1/4 inch piece of wood in here because I haven't made a new jig yet. These angles that you do are directly proportional to the length of your rolling pin also. So if you make one that's 22 inches, the angle's got to be a little bit different, or you're not going to come, you're not going to be right center of your glue up. So you want, when this goes through your table saw, the center of this board, which is the center of this glue up, is where you want your table saw to be, your blade. And then when you push this through, it's going to come down to this end, and it's going to cut right to the tip of the edge of this down here, which is where this part of the jig is. That actually goes, that's right there where the blade's at. So once you cut that first one, you have these long kind of triangular shaped pieces. So you'll have a piece like this, okay? And then this piece, this has already been cut, but this came off of, trying to line this up to see which way it was. Looks like it was right there. But anyway, when this cuts off, this edge that this just came off of, you'll take that edge, slide your table saw fence over, set it 2.5 inches from your blade. You set this up against it, and then you're cutting the next piece, which is this one. So you'll get 2 of these pieces. You'll have one solid chunk for a rolling pin. You take these 2. Now remember when I said I planed both sides of the boards, so when these are cut off, I have a plain surface here, and I have a plain surface here, and then I have already pre-cut pieces that are anywhere from 3/8 to 1/4 inch. You put that in between here and here, and then you re-glue this so that you'll get 2 rolling pins out of this one glue up that you do. That's why you glue it up 5 inches, so you get double the width, so you can get 2 rolling pins out of it. And once this is set up, then this one's a little bit, I can't really tell it, but it's probably like a 1/16 of an inch wider than this is. So I'll just glue it up so that one side is good and flat, and then I'll run it through my table saw again and trim this so it's the same as this. Then after I get these 2 pieces, I'll get 6 of them made up or whatever, and then I'll take them out to my table saw, set my table saw to 45, the blade, and I'll run it through and take these corners off just because I cheat. Instead of doing it on the lathe, I make it a little bit quicker by doing that, but I usually wait till I got 6 of these, so when I do it, it's worth the time of setting that up.
Knowing you, Tim, you probably use those corners for other stuff too.
Actually, I was keeping them, and then Ryan come over, and he goes, "What are you going to do with all these?" And I said, "I don't know. I might make something out of them." And he's like, "Just give them to me for the firewood." So he took them with him, and now they're getting burned at his house. So, but yes, I did. I was keeping every single one of these. So, obviously the hardest part is figuring out your angles here. And what I did is I took this piece of 1x, put this on there, set it on my table saw, and set the block. It was setting right in the middle of the blade, the center of my block, and down to here, that it was right on the edge of the board. So, and then I just traced these angles and then cut this so I'd have this. But again, if you make a longer one, these angles are going to be just slightly off, where you won't be right in the middle of your glue up piece if you're longer or shorter than what this was made for. So again, I'm not real good with math, but I'm sure there's a way you could figure these angles out by knowing the length and the width and all that, but I just kind of put it on there, and it worked out pretty good that way. So I'm going to show you real quick how I have some guides that I haven't been using lately because I've done so many of these now. I'm pretty good at making it what I want without them. I make the handles approximately 4 inches, 4.5 from this edge to out here. So once I get that marked, you're looking for, I don't know, somewhere around 12 inches rolling pin area. Sometimes you go a little bit smaller than that, but you really need at least 4 inches, sometimes better 4.5 inches, just enough to get your handle on the rolling pin or whatever. So once I get these marked, and this is what I do to get this flat, perfectly flat, for when whatever you're going to roll out doesn't have, you know, imperfections in it. I'm just eyeballing it, but I know that I've got approximately, when I'm finished, I should have from here to here, where my handle actually starts, about 7/8 to an inch of this divot. I'm just doing it to here for now, just so I got this below this, and then do it on the other side, the same thing. So the reason I get this stuff down is I use my tool rest to get this what I need. So the next step is to make sure that this and this are the same diameter. Once you have that, and you put this tool rest up, you'll look down apps or what air space, and that lets you know, well, you need to take a little bit off. And I leave the tool rest right up against it and put my tool right on top of that and just shave a little bit until you'll hear the, well, so you can kind of you'll hear that. And then when it goes away, you know that you've got this thing. Now, I don't, because this and this are bigger because I've got air gaps in between there. So the first thing I need to do is get this close. I don't think that camera pointing straight down probably doesn't get that where you can see the gap in here. So this one's a little high, or a little big. Okay. So right now I push this up and I got the same air gap here as I do here, but I'm rubbing in the middle. So now I've got this part of my rolling pin is perfectly flat all the way across. That's when I'll come back out to this stuff. And like I said, I have a jig, but it was for a 2 3/4 inch pin that I could, when I get close, it would fit. Like I could put it right up against it. It would sit flat on here. It would have a little piece cut that goes right in this. And that would tell me if I'm rubbing here, I'd have to take out a little bit more of this, and then it would have that same taper. It would allow, you know, if it's sitting like this, I need to take this down a little bit smaller. The other thing that I do on the ends of these, tapering them, I'll take this askew and come in far enough that I know that the point of my tail end, when I finish this, that I won't have a little hole in it. and I put this chamfer on there so that, you know, from this point, I'll sand the rest of the rolling. Obviously, I'll do this one the same as this and get this all sanded. I use hut wax on here. It's like one of the quickest finishes you can probably put on here, and it's food grade, and it's pretty decent as far as being rugged and lasting or whatever. And if you ever if it starts to wear on you and you have to replace it, they make Howard's makes this stuff called Wax It All, and it's kind of like a paste wax. Comes like in a jar about this big and looks like a thing of wax for your car, but it's got mineral oil and beeswax, and I think there's one other item in there, and it's food grade. It's what I put on my charcuterie boards for the last coat. And then when this starts to lose its finish or whatever, you take that stuff and you just put it on kind of like you're waxing your car. You let it set for, I don't know, 4 hours or whatever, and you come back with a lint-free or even a paper towel, and you just kind of buff it off. And it puts a finish on there where you run, it'll water. And I tell the people with the charcuterie boards, when they go to rinse them or clean them, you know, obviously wipe them off as quick as you can after you clean it. And then when you start noticing that the water's not beading up on it, then apply that stuff to it, and it'll last, you know, another 6-8 times or whatever, and just keep applying that to the, and I do this, I tell them the same thing on these. This should last longer. That hut wax is a little more better finish, or it lasts a little bit longer, but it's more of a friction. When you got it on the lathe, it comes in a little, I don't know if has anybody in here ever used that? Yeah, it works pretty good, don't it? And I mean, it's just a small bar that's probably this long by that wide by that thick. And while your piece is turning, you just push that hut wax onto it, and you just apply it as it's spinning, and it heats up and it kind of burnishes into the wood, and you come back with a paper towel and it comes off, and you get, well, what this finish is hut wax.
Do you use the white one?
I use both. I use the satin, and then I use the high gloss, the white one, afterwards. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So anyway, I do this because at the end, when you're done, at that point, you can take your rolling pin over to the bandsaw, and you cut this part on this side of your chamfer. You just cut it with the bandsaw, and then go over to the disc sander, and I just kind of slightly touch the end of it, and then I use our polishing wheel and do the triple E white diamond, and it would wax, and it polishes this up just like the rest of the rolling pin. And then when you're done, you've got, you know, no holes, and it's a good finish on the ends of it. But that's why I put this chamfer. Women have said they like that it's not just a flat cut on the end, that it's got that little bit of a, you know, round over on it, so it's not digging into your hand or whatever. But this is the shape that I use, and it seems to go pretty good. So, but that's pretty much, I mean, I can finish this up, but it's going to be the same as this on this side. And then when I get to that, I'll sand it down to 600 grit. On this, it's pretty smooth already, so I would probably start with maybe 240 grit and go 240, 320, 400, and 600. Once I finish doing that, then I put the hut wax on it, take it off, cut the ends, run it on the polishing wheel, and I'm done. So.
And Tim, when you're applying that hot finish, you just do a light pass, right? You don't actually...
Yeah, you ain't bearing down on it, but you want to make sure You'll see it. Well, actually, where's
I
that
just
at?
know when I pushed it really hard, it really burnishes.
Oh yeah, and you're wasting it.
Yeah.
So let me see that real quick, and I'll even do. I mean, it's pretty smooth. That you'll see a difference right away anyway. And they make this, like this one that he's got is the satin. It's the brown. And then they make another one that's white. And the white is a high gloss. And to be quite honest with you, you put this on, and then you put the white on, in my opinion, it gives you the same finish. There's no difference, so.
I think if you're supposed to use that on like that brown one, use it on brown wood.
Well,
And the white on light colored wood. In this situation, it's going to be hard to do, but you're going to find out that that browns up that a little bit.
I don't know if the video will get on there. Let me get a paper
That's
towel.
the way I used to use it.
I know it says that the brown is satin
Yeah.
finish and the white is for high gloss. I guess I've never paid attention to what it does on light wood compared to the dark wood.
In this situation, you got all the colors.
So that's about all it uses. I mean, you don't use very much.
That goes a long way.
Yeah, it does.
And you get hot really fast too.
Oh yeah, you'll burn the shit out of yourself if you get off the paper towel. Believe me. Excuse me, I didn't mean to say that. But yes, you do. But I don't know if you see the difference in that?
Yeah.
It gives it a pretty good, and that's not even sanded. That's just from your tooling. It makes a pretty good finish. This, well here, you can feel these, that's what the finish is on these rolling pins. So that's what and like I said, I sand mine to 600 and then put that hut wax on it, and that's what it feels like. I use that on any of the this hut wax when I'm making wine stoppers that are wood or even epoxy that's with, like, I'll take pieces of acrylic from my pen blanks. When I cut the ends off after I make a pen, I've usually got about that much, and I'll cut them in half to make 2 thin square pieces, and I'll throw them in the pill bottles and fill it up with epoxy when I'm doing epoxy pours. And one of the bigger, like the pill bottles that are about this big and about that tall, I can get 2 wine stoppers out of that. And I do the same thing. I'll sand it down and I'll use that hut wax on it, polish it. It's the same thing with wood. So I use that hut wax on a lot of different things.
But yeah, I think I was doing it the first time, and if you press it too hard, you'll see 2 lines there where I really gemmed it way too much. So you kind of want a medium touch, and then as Tim was showing, paper towel to wipe off the excess and kind of melt it in.
Yep. Like I said, I would say the hardest thing, to be quite honest with you, is the glue up. Making sure you get a good clamp on your wood. Make sure you put enough glue on it that you're getting some squeeze out. I like to use a wet paper towel and wipe off the excess glue, because it doesn't do wonders on table saw blades and lathe tools and stuff like that. So the less that you have, the better. So
You sell a lot of those?
I've got, like this blank that was on here, I got about 35 of these at home that are sitting on my shelf just ready to turn. And I think I've probably got 10 of them done at home, and I've probably sold 20, 25 of them. And I sell these for 80 bucks, and I sell like a straight glue up, like 3 pieces of wood, or a solid piece of wood for 60. So I charge 20 bucks more for the extra steps involved in, which is, realistically, they're getting a better deal with one of these than they are with the other, because it takes way less time to do one of the other ones than this. This one's got ambrosia maple, walnut, cherry, spalted pin oak, and then it's back to walnut, spalted pin oak, cherry, ambrosia maple, walnut, and spalted pin oak. So this one actually had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different boards in this 2.5 inch piece, which usually I don't have that many. This one I did thinner pieces to get a little bit more variety and change. This is the ambrosia maple right here that has that change in color there, and same with this.
Are your woods pretty clear though? It doesn't have knots on it or anything?
No, I won't glue anything with knots up, because then you just gotta, if it ends up being on this, I don't care about this out here, but if it ends up being in one of these, then you got to do something to it, or otherwise they're going to be rolling their dough out and have a big old hump in it, you know. So
Do they like balls any, or?
I've sold some, but the ones that I passed around, that I sell twice as many of those than I do these. And that bowl that I made out of that hackberry, that's what this piece of wood right here is hackberry, and so is this one. And that's got some hackberry in it too. And then this one has, this is that spalted pin oak, this piece, and then walnut, cherry, hackberry, cherry, walnut, cherry, hackberry, cherry, and spalted pin oak.
Where do you sell most of your bids at?
I just go to craft vendor fair things and set up a table, and but I'm tight, whatever you want to say, and I won't go to one that, I think the most I've ever spent was, I think it was 60 bucks for 2 days at the Rhubarb Fest in Aledo, and it was for a Friday and a Saturday. I made 1,500 bucks in 2 days. The best I've ever done, believe it or not, I'm from Viola, which is, I mean, less than 1,000 people. And this Christmas, they had this Christmas walk, whatever thing, and I think it was, I made just over $1,000 in 6 hours there in Viola, of all places. I wasn't going to go because I was like, it ain't going to be worth the time. But
Was that just rolling pin or?
no, I make charcuterie boards, rolling pins, Christmas ornaments, inside out Christmas ornaments, Christmas trees, like decorations, snowmen, lighthouses. Started doing the wine stoppers. I haven't been to a craft fair with those yet, because I just started doing those a few months ago. And then something that sells really good is my daughter, in Penn State, they're called a tobacco taster. Okay, and we'll just leave it at that. And she wanted one, and I said, well, what do you want one of those for? And then she kind of proceeded to tell me why she wanted one. And they came in a starter pack of 6 of them, And so I ordered a 6-pack of them, and I had her, well, obviously hers was spoken for, and her husband, some guy that he worked with, wanted one. So 2 of the 6 were already gone. And one of them I didn't put together because I didn't like the piece of wood that I used. It just, I don't know, it didn't look that, there wasn't much to it. It was just a real white, you know. So I put 5 of them together, put it on my Facebook page. In less than a half hour, all 5 of those were gone. So I ordered another 12. Just finished those yesterday, and 5 of the 12 of them are already gone. So, and that's, most of those weren't even people on Facebook. It was people that had already told me they wanted one, but I posted it, and then they said, this is the one I want. They said they wanted one, but after I put the things on there and they picked the color and everything that they wanted. But they're a pretty good item to sell right now, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep. So.
Thank you very much, Tim. We really appreciate
Yep.
that.